Most people know the Natchez Trace from the brown signs on the roadways, or because it's a nice place for a leisurely Sunday drive. But do you know what it really is? Its history, or where it starts and ends? This is the Natchez Trace. The first travelers of what we know as the Natchez Trace weren't even people, they were animals. Deer, bison, and other large animals created footpaths or trails through dense woods to get from the grazing lands of Mississippi to the salt licks of Tennessee. Between 800 and 1500 AD, the Mississippi mound builders traveled these footpaths and improved them by building additional roads and added temples and burial sites along the route. Many can still be seen today. The Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez Indians were frequent travelers of the old trace for hunting and trading expeditions. Over the years, the Wilderness Road was traveled by explorers, frontiersmen, pioneers, and farmers, and boatmen from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Kentucky. Under the direction of President Thomas Jefferson, in 1801, the United States Army began work on the old trace to create a postal road between Nashville and the Mississippi River. Jefferson called it the Columbian Highway. Travelers, however, called it the Devil's Backbone because it was in the middle of nowhere and the conditions were rough. By 1809, the trace could be traveled from the south end to the north end by wagon in 2 to 3 weeks. Lodging and general stores called stands were also built along the route. During the War of 1812, General Andrew Jackson often used the trace when they thought that British ships were a threat to the Gulf Coast. Eventually, travel along the Natchez Trace began to decrease. Because of the intense current of the Mississippi River, mostly downstream trips were made by boat, and northbound return trips were made via land. When the steam engine was invented and steamboat use became more prevalent, the old Natchez Trace was no longer a desirable route. In the 1930s, the federal government began construction of the Natchez Trace Parkway. Proposed by U.S. Representative T. Jeff Busby of Mississippi as a tribute to the original Natchez Trace. President Roosevelt signed legislation in 1938 to begin construction. The trace finally completed all of its construction in 2005. Today, the parkway is maintained by the National Park Service. So the next time you see one of those brown signs, take a detour. Stop at mile marker 104.5 for a 5-minute walk to see the sunken old trace, or 106.9 to view Boyd Mounds, 6 burial mounds built between 800 and 1100 AD. Your leisurely Sunday drive could be a trip through history.